Now, just a couple of words about the portion. I heard a very beautiful shiur, Rav Castiel from Eli, the Rav the Mechina, which I like a lot of his very interesting ideas. And he asks a very important question. If we look in the opening of the portion, we see certain topics that don't have they don't seem to be in a special order. They seem to be topics that are not related to one another. It opens up with the Trumat HaDeshen, cleaning the ashes off the altar, and then it goes to the Mincha, offering about the Mincha, and then it talks about the Chata, then it talks about the inauguration of Aaron and his sons. There are different topics that seems to jump, not like the first book of Leviticus, that actually is in sequence, that goes from one particular topic follows another topic, etc. There, it's in a very interesting order, a very systematic way, a very systematic order of things. And here in this week's portion, it's not so much. But he brings together, he makes a very interesting correlation of the topics, and he talks about how, because the first topic here is referring to the fire that has to be on the altar, right? It's we have to keep that fire going. And the ashes have to be removed, right? The Tumat HaDeshen is the opening topic here. Fire is something that requires to feed, to take care of, to watch over, right? Fire is something that if we do not, if we choke it out, we starve the fire from oxygen, it's not going to survive. So fire needs to be fed and it needs to have its proper oxygen in order to burn properly. On the other hand, we look at the next topic. It refers to the mincha. The mincha offering is the meal offering. And here we know that all meal offerings in the temple were only made out of matzah, unleavened bread. There were exceptions, we'll talk about that in a moment. But most of them, the vast majority of all the minachot were different forms of matzah. We're going to eat them soon on Passover. And in the matzah realm, we do the opposite than we did it with the fire. Right there, we don't want it to get too much. We don't want it to get what's it called? We call in Hebrew chametz. Chametz means lachmitz. The word chamsan comes from chamsan, meaning oxygen, comes from the word chametz in Hebrew. We don't want it to blow up. Obviously, we all know how you make dough. You have to add yeast, sourdough. In those days, they would use the most healthy dough, right? To make bread, and the yeast, of course, feeds on the sugars of the dough and carbon dioxide. It's produced, that causes the bubbles, and of course, a combination of the water, and it needs, of course, the water is H2O, which has this oxygen in there. That's how it produces its delicious bread rises, etc. There are also, by the way, different bacteria in there that are very important for the bread, sourdough, as we all know. But anyway, that interesting thing is that they want to prevent, with fire, you want to add the oxygen, right? You want to make it grow by having it air. You need to have the air enter. You don't want it to be choked out. And here, the opposite, you want to keep away the source of it rising. You want to make sure that there's no yeast over there, and you want to, the yeast is natural, so you have to make sure you don't allow it to mingle with water that would add oil to it, so it doesn't rise and very quickly get it on the fire, not to allow it to rise at all. So here it's very interesting. Both cases are connected to the concept of chametz, right? Either chametz I'm talking about now in Hebrew, chamtzan, whether you want it to breathe or you don't want it to breathe. But whatever it is, they're both related in that way, right? On opposite sides. But the point is here, you have to have a vigil. Be very careful when you're watching over the bread and that it shouldn't be turned to chametz, and of course, watching the fire, that it shouldn't burn out. Now, what's very, very interesting, there's, we think about it. The Kohanim, the priests in the temple, it is their job to be vigilant. They have to be vigilant. That's the whole role of the Kohen is awareness, to be aware of what's going on. Yesterday we were down south in the Dead Sea, and I'm driving on the road, and there's a big truck in front of me, and he's very hard because it's windy roads, and some of them go obviously are dangerous for a truck to drive too fast over there. The car in front of me, and then I'm there, and there's a car behind me, and this guy is beeping his horn like, what does he expect to go where? It's a one-lane highway in Israel. Most the highways in the south, all the Dead Sea highways it's a one-lane road, and you have to be very careful. It's dangerous, and the guy is beeping without any awareness. He doesn't pay attention. There's a truck that can't go fast because he's a truck. I mean, people just don't think, and it's just a lack of awareness. And it was really, making me upset. But I just said to myself, where does this come from? Then he passes along a blind curve. I'm looking at it. This is a young guy. I mean, who knows? I mean, people that don't think. I would say just a simple word, an idiot. But unfortunately, there are many idiots out there that don't think, that do not have awareness of what's going on. We have to be aware. And this is really what the Kohanim, what they were all about, is awareness. That's really what life is all about. When we make the blessings on our food every day, and we wake up in the morning, and all the blessings in our prayers, to be aware, to be thankful to Hashem. We have to be thankful to what we have. And life is all about awareness. And if we go on, we see in this week's portion talks about the next topic, right after the topic of the fire, and as we said, the taking off the ashes, and talking about the meal offering. The next topic is about a sin offering, right? And that's very interesting, because what is a sin? A sin is exactly that, the lack of awareness, right? So if Castiel is trying to point out, there is a connection between each of these topics. So the lack of awareness, right, comes from someone who makes a sin. What is a sin that a person has to bring a sin offering? Is something that's done, it's a form of I wouldn't call it exactly an accident, but a lack of knowledge, a lack of awareness, right? A total accident, you don't have to bring an offering. We're talking about someone who doesn't know the law, right? They're not aware. And that's the person who brings a sin offering. So a sin offering is exactly a result of that lack of awareness. Okay, so we can follow that down the line. Now, if we go on in the portion, we're talking about, afterwards, about the shlamim. The shlamim is a peace offering, and part of the shlamim is the korban todah, thanksgiving offering, which is fascinating. Now, a thanksgiving offering, we spoke about before that all the offerings in the temple have to be of unleavened bread of matzah. But here, the thanksgiving offering is unique in that it was, they bought, first of all, it could either bought from a keves, or, it was a shlamim. A korban shlamim could be from a lamb, or it could be bought from, from bakal, so on, from the things that a korban shlamim can be bought from, whether it's from I said English, from like a bakal, from cattle, or it can be bought from sheep or goats, right? Those are the different forms of a shlamim. But so that's the first part of the Thanksgiving offering. By the way, a person will bring a Thanksgiving offering for 4 reasons. A person traveling went through the desert, or a dangerous place or on the sea, or someone who was very, very ill and got out of it, or someone who came out of prison. So those are the 4 reasons why someone brings a Thanksgiving offering. But all shlamim, all peace offerings are part of that Thanksgiving. But this is a unique one. And what's unique about the korban todah, the Thanksgiving offering, is that it's not eaten as long as it's eaten by the regular shlamim, which is, then they can eat the thing for 2 days and a night. So they eat the first day in the evening and the next day. But the Thanksgiving offering is eaten only the day it's offered until 12 o'clock at night that evening. So and therefore, I'm going to add a very important fact now about it. Together with the meat, which I mentioned before, from bakal, from the sheep, or from the goats, or from the cattle, the additional part that's brought with this is 40 different loaves of bread, which is fascinating. 40 loaves of bread. That's a lot of bread, of course. And we're talking about a large quantity. It's about the estimated amount is between 50 and 80 kilos. I mean, we're talking about something Think about the amount of bread that you can make. How many people need to eat that in order to finish that? It has to be finished by 12 o'clock at night. So the whole idea is when you have all that bread that's made, you got to bring over a lot of people to have a big party to celebrate, to thank Hashem. You talk about the miracle that took place. So that's the whole part of the Thanksgiving offering. But I wanted to stress here is that out of the 40 chalot that are made, there were three different kinds of matzah, right? So there were 30 that were unleavened, and there were 10 that were chametz out of the group, which were larger. They were larger content than the matzah. Whatever it was, the Kohen was given one of each, 4 of them. So there were 36 left, and those 36 had to be eaten by the person who brought the Thanksgiving offering and all his friends and family that it brings to make a special party to celebrate the Thanksgiving. Now here, the question is why here the Torah allows one to have leavened bread, regular bread as part of it. And the answer is because when are you allowed to have something that's leavened? Is when you are aware. And that's exactly what the Todah offering is all about. It's awareness. When a person shows his awareness, this appreciation to Hashem. So Hashem says, okay, now you can have that bread. Now you can have the bread. So, because and otherwise, the whole idea, the whole reason to bring matzah in the temple is to remember, to think about that awareness, to educate towards awareness. But when you have that awareness, the exception to the rule, of course, is over here. And there's one other exception to the rule of bringing leavened bread as an offering, and that's on the holiday of Shavuot, right? One of our festivals, it's only a very simple festival of one day only, where we celebrate the giving of the Torah. There's no greater thanksgiving than that offering, which we call Shtei Alechem, the 2 breads. And that, again, is exactly what we're talking about, awareness. Being aware, and of course, the Torah represents, more than anything, the da'at. Right, that connection. That means knowledge. That connection. I once read in a book called, this very, very famous book written by Shneil Zalman Meladi, the Balatanya. I forgot what the commentary. It was a commentary on the Tanya, and he brings a very fascinating example. And I think I mentioned this probably in the past. Is that a story of a farmer who was illiterate? He couldn't read. And he had a friend that every time he received a letter, his friend would read him the letter. And one time he received a letter that his father passed away, and he did not obviously understand what was written in the letter. A friend read the letter, and he fainted. The minute he got the word his father passed, he fainted. But the friend nothing happened to the friend. He just was standing on his feet. So why did he faint and the friend stand on his feet? And the answer is because da'at. That's exact explanation. What is da'at? Knowledge, really. Knowledge is in our heart. We connect to something. We feel it in our hearts. So the difference was his friend who read him the letter didn't know his father. So he didn't have that emotional bond, that bond to the father as the son did. And therefore he fainted. And that's a perfect example of what to explain what that's all about. We're aware. And I think that is probably, if we take this concept, and in the portion, and of course we think about what our major one of the major things that we have to rectify in this time that we're living in the world today is our awareness and our appreciation. We've spoken about this many times. To be able to look and observe and make the right choices. This takes us back to what I opened up with. That we must, we have to make the right choices. We have to be aware. We have to let our hearts open up and connect to the truth. And that's really the message of Parashat Tzav. Right? Tzav. This is the name of the portion. And this connects us, of course, to the other part that we're going to read about, the red heifer. Well, the red heifer was something that's mind-boggling. Something that no one knows why. It's one of the things that God, as Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon says, how much God gave him wisdom, but he couldn't understand the deep meaning behind the red heifer, that the fact that the red heifer purifies those who are unclean to the dead. On the other hand, those who are dealing with it become unclean. That was something that wasn't clear, and King Solomon didn't try to understand the depth behind the red heifer. And here's where the Torah teaches us modesty, no matter what. To know that when Torah says something, and sometimes we don't know all the reasons, and things are beyond our grasp, we have to know that the Torah is the most ethical book on earth. Don't let those try to distort the Torah. And things that we have to follow the Torah, well, according to our Jewish tradition, things that we understand, things that we don't understand. We don't understand everything that goes on in this world, but we know that standing with God, we can never go wrong. And all the trouble starts when people turn away from God. And they begin to create their own religions, their own way of doing things. But we have to humble ourselves, and that's the red heifer, to humble ourselves. How great the red heifer is, God gave, how great his wisdom God gave to Solomon, but he doesn't understand and that teaches us about all the Torah in reality. We can't even get, even in the Torah, we try our best, and where we have to constantly delve and try to understand, but we're limited, we're human beings, but we have to know this is godly words, this is the word of Hashem, and everything in the Torah is the true ethical the true ethics in the world, and that we have to follow. And that will bring us peace, that will bring us prosperity in the world, and bring the world to another place totally. That really is that important lesson. So anyway, let's take these lessons from the portion. The lessons of being aware and being careful, right? And at the same time, always remembering to be thankful and humbling ourselves. We take those lessons, we'll be in another place totally. Shabbat shalom, besorot tovot, yeshuot v'nechamot.